meeting is being recorded.
Welcome everybody to Law and Book Reading, and I'm so happy that you guys are here. And on 1663, we were talking about Baba's film project and his travel in the US and his journey there with his loved ones. So continuation of that. And can you hear me properly now?
No.
Eva, can you increase the size? No, you can't. Okay, just increase the size of the text if you can. And Marvin, maybe you can start.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we ready to begin?
Yes.
Okay, Lord Meher, page 1663 in 1935. On January 2nd, 1935 was Minta's birthday, and chicken and ice cream and cake was served. Baba gave her a scarf, and Minta presented Baba with an electric razor, which Adi began using to shave Baba. That day, through Noni, the wife of the famous director Cecil B. DeMille, came for an interview and expressed her desire for her husband, who had met Baba at Pig Fair, to meet Baba again.
Footnote?
Cecil B. DeMille's sister-in-law, Mrs. William DeMille, met Baba a few weeks earlier at the Sheldon Hotel in New York on 14 December 1934. Although Cecil B. DeMille's second meeting with Baba never took place, William J. Hurlbut, 51, a well-known screenplay writer who adapted Imitation to Life, came to see Baba on the 4th. And the footnote says, Hurlbut had known Norina in New York in the late 1920s. He wrote the screenplay for Bride of Frankenstein also. Hurlbut found it difficult to articulate his question of how he could live in the world, attend to his job, and be spiritual at the same time. Baba understood what he meant, clarifying, "You mean spirituality made practical." "Yes, that is exactly it," Hurlbut interrupted. Baba assured him, "It is very easy. It's very simple. Its very simplicity makes it very difficult." "Is it really? How strange," Hurlbut said. "People's ideas about God and spirituality are so far-fetched, fantastic, and funny. I call my highest ideal life substance. I don't want to call it God, for that would be connected with the rigid church diction and dogmas, and my belief and ideal are greater. So life substance, whatever it is." Baba replied, "Names and terms do not matter. It is the feeling that counts." Hurlbut, "What then should I do to feel, as you say, and get a glimpse of it, if I do not go deeper into it?" Baba, "I will explain. For a man of your position in life, it is all right in a civilized country of modern ideals and age to live as you do, always keeping your mind toward higher aspirations. To speak frankly, you are spiritual without being conscious of it." "Am I really?" "Yes, I know you are really more spiritual than you yourself know, and there is still much more you could do. I will explain it to you." Baba then gave him instructions to concentrate on a particular thought for a number of minutes every day. Miss Karina Shields met Baba the same day. She was an intelligent, bold young archaeologist who had spent time with native tribes in southern Mexico who practiced mystical occult traditions. Like Hurlbut, she too felt conflicted. Baba reiterated, "In the West, too, are sincere souls who seek the truth. There is an awakening, even in the West, toward a life behind all this gross world. But it is difficult to reconcile the two, material and spiritual living. I know how you feel and tell you that you shouldn't feel disappointed with this situation or conflict, as you say. You must always remember that in spirituality, it is not the intellect and the external life that matters, but it is the feelings and the inner experiences that count. You can live in the world, do all your duties, and yet be spiritual. You should not run away from the world, nor shirk your duties toward your own and others. Live in the world doing all your legitimate duties, but keep your mind always towards the goal. Have a longing for inner life and experiences, and it will surely come to you gradually. Scroll a little. Constance Collier, 57, a Hollywood movie actress and drama teacher, came to see Baba at the house on Camino Palmero on Sunday, 6 January 1935. She was having trouble with failing eyesight, and Baba gave her a meditation to do, which she said will help her both physically and spiritually. She said to him, I have hundreds of friends, but not one could be called a true one. I feel so alone. Baba gestured to her. I am your friend, a real one. Yes, I believe you are. I do not feel alone since I have known you. Please remember me. I am in you all the time, Baba assured her. Tullio Caminati, 40, another movie actor, came to see Baba that evening. He had performed on stage with Norina years before, and although she was older now, he remarked to Norina, why, you look so much better than you did before. There's really something quite different, something divine. I can clearly see it. Pointing to Baba, Norina replied, it is his divinity that you see in me. Just look at him and see for yourself. As the film work developed, Mercedes was given the two stories and instructed to give them to Hurlbut also to read. Mercedes later agreed to work for Baba by writing the story Continuity for a film in collaboration with Gene and Malcolm Schloss's friend, Garrett Ford, who arrived in Hollywood and met Baba on the 6th. Garrett Ford, 35, was a well-known screenwriter who worked on such famous Hollywood films as Dracula, Frankenstein, and The Lost Patrol. Ford had been interested in spirituality since childhood, and having met Meher Baba's contact during this period, he subsequently came to love the master deeply. And a footnote, in an interview to a newspaper reporter, Ford stated that he had first met Meher Baba at the Hollywood home of a fellow screenwriter, Rolf Passer, and his wife Marina, who, according to the article, were followers of Baba. Baba, Jalbai, Adi, Norina, and Malcolm visited Ford's beach house on the 7th, where Baba's photo was taken. After days of discussions and the master's guidance, Baba expressed his intent to return to India. Those involved in the project were shocked and pleaded with him, your personal presence is necessary to inspire, guide, and instruct us at every stage. Baba replied, this picture may take months or even a year or more to produce, and I cannot stay here indefinitely. I have to see to my work, especially in the East, and more particularly in India. This film project is a side work, although it is important. That is why I came over all this distance in response to your requests and repeated cables to work with you and bring it to this practical stage. You work out the making of the film now as instructed, adhering mainly to the points and spiritual theme I have dictated. And wherever I am, I will always guide and help you internally. This is my work, and my guiding spirit will always enable you to tackle the difficult issues that may arise in this. So do not worry at all and proceed with it. Everyone in cooperation, each in his or her individual way. Remember, I am always with you. The producer, Gabriel Pascal, became deeply devoted to Baba. Although he suffered much because of his erratic nature, Pascal remained internally connected until his death. The other artists and actors were also impressed with Baba, and his visit directed the flow of their lives into a new inner channel. While in Los Angeles, Rano presented Baba with a brown felt hat to wear on his trip back. Before he departed, Baba expressed his wish to acquire a puppy he could take back to India. Soon after, Rano found a pedigreed tan Cocker Spaniel in a kennel and took Baba to see it. Baba liked the puppy and purchased it for $35. Baba named it Chummy, since there was a watchdog already named Chum at Meherabad. Being in charge of the housekeeping and food, Rano had been kept in the kitchen constantly, away from Baba. She became sad and jealous and often wept over this. Nevertheless, she tried to do her job meticulously. Sometimes, while crying by herself in the kitchen, she would feel a gentle pat on the shoulder and turn to find Baba there. All her misery and loneliness would be dissolved by his touch. When he was about to leave Los Angeles, Baba consoled Ruano by informing her, "You have done faithfully and well a task you dislike, having done more for yourself than you can ever imagine." And I misread the name. I said it was Rano, but it was Ruano Bogoslav. And there's a picture of her. At 8:30 in the evening on Monday, 7 January 1935, Baba and his mandali departed for Vancouver, Canada, on a train called the Lark. Narina, Elizabeth, Nadine, Jean, Malcolm, Garrett, Minta, Rano, Nani, Ruano, and others who were involved in the film work had experienced the master's intimate contact for 3 weeks in Hollywood. His departure stabbed their hearts with the pain that makes one long for a union with the beloved. Baba left instructions that the group was to stay together in the house in Hollywood until 18th February, his birthday according to the Persian calendar. Nani and Rano were then to return to New York. Narina, Elizabeth, and Ruano were to remain in California with the rest of the group, and Minta was to travel to England via New York. Baba and the mandali arrived in San Francisco on the morning of the 8th. He received tearful cables from his dear ones at every stop and replied to each. In San Francisco, Age noted, there were clouds and rain to greet Baba, as if the feelings of his lovers left behind had laced the sky with their heart's sadness in separation. But the
Thank
beloved,
you.
yes,
Bhavin.
somebody
Maybe
else
Mahu,
can take over, please.
yeah, Mahu can read now. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure. Okay, so we're on page 1666, the year 1935 continued. But the beloved never lacks to see a sad expression, even if the heart is breaking. And shortly the clouds blew away and the sun appeared. Baba and the mandali took Chami for a walk in Golden Gate Park. Then they saw a film named The President Vanishes at the Paramount Theater on Market Street. After the film, they took the ferry to Oakland and boarded the Cascade train to Portland and Seattle at about 4 p.m. They arrived in Vancouver early on the 10th, where they checked into the Yale Hotel. Baba picked up his mail and telegrams and went around the city. In the morning, the group breakfasted at the Cecil Hotel next door and then took Baba to a dentist as his teeth was bothering him, but it was not extracted. At 11 a.m. on Saturday, 12 January 1935, Baba left for Hawaii and the Orient aboard the steamer Empress of Canada, accompanied by Chanji, Kaka, Jalbai, Adi Senior, and Chummy. The puppy was at first kept with Adi in his cabin, but later was shifted to the animal quarters. Baba visited him each morning and afternoon. Baba received many telegrams on the ship, full of his lover's laments of separation. Baba wrote this joint reply to the group on the 12th. Baba wrote, "This is just to say another parting, yet loving farewell at the moment when I am leaving the shores of the West for my work in the East. There is no need now to tell you, all my darlings, how I love you and know how keenly you feel for me, and how the thought of a separation that is to come haunts you and tears your dear loving heart. But beloveds mine, if you just try to see that this is all for my work, and as such vitally essential, and how I feel and suffer for all this, for the sake of the work that has to be done, much of your mental burden and heart's dejection will diminish and disappear. And there is always my love and loving help for you, dearest ones, that will enable you to cheer up in moments of depression and heartaches. That I am and shall be ever with you. Mine own must by now be a matter of conviction and thought of great relief and comfort. And wherever I am, wherever you are, my loving thoughts for you all, my heart will never keep you in the warmth and feel of my love. No, will ever keep you in the warmth and feel of my love. I need not at all repeat, for I know and am confident you feel it so deeply every moment. And I also know that there are times when every throb of your heart beats for your beloved Baba. The next page, can it be more beautiful than this? Next page. Continues this Baba's reply. So, remembering always that love knows no time and no space, that hearts united in love can never part and can never have a separation. Keep yourselves always in cheerful disposition and happy in the love and loving thoughts, and work for your ever beloved Baba. For I want you to be always happy under all conditions. Now the reply
Thank
is
you, Mahu.
Sure.
Eva, can you read next? Thanks, Mahu.
Sure. During the voyage, Baba was feeling very uneasy and his physical health began to fail. And each day he continually stressed the urgency of arriving in India at the earliest possible date. He repeated this again and again as he asked the Mandali to check into the various air routes between Hong Kong and India, or any land route that might possibly be quicker. Despite assurances from the Mandali that the fastest way to travel was by ship, Baba persisted day after day and repeated that he must reach India as soon as possible. The winter of 1935 was the coldest it had been in 36 years, and Baba was prevented by the severe temperatures from taking his customary walks on deck. For the first few days abroad, Baba went to the gymnasium to ride an electric horse and exercise on a stationary bicycle. His health, though, continued to suffer. He developed pyorrhea and bleeding gums that prevented him from eating or sleeping much. He had to rise every few minutes during the night to spit out the blood and saliva collecting in his mouth. With little to eat, only milk once a day and chicken soup, soft bread and spinach in the evening, and hardly any sleep, Baba became weaker and weaker. Baba had also had persistent chest pains and heart cramps ever since arriving in London over a month ago. During the voyage, he explained to the men Mandali, my condition might develop into paralysis, and this is the reason why I want to reach India as soon as possible. On Friday, 18 January 1935, they arrived in Honolulu, Hawaii at 1 p.m. They left the ship and started on foot towards Waikiki Beach. But it was farther than they thought, so they took a taxi. Baba had a good walk at the small zoo at Waikiki before returning to the city by taxi when it started raining hard. They returned to the ship at 7 p.m. Letters from Baba were mailed from Hawaii to his lovers left behind in America. Whenever Baba wrote to Minta, he always enclosed a poem. On this occasion, he wrote, "You have all my love, my darling dove. Below, above, I am ever with you. You are ever in my heart. We are never apart. You, a part of my heart. I am always with you." On the ship, Baba and Kaka shifted to cabin number 280. Chanji joined Adi Sr. in his cabin, 302. And Jalpai had a separate cabin to himself. Baba continued to be in poor health. On 23 January, Adi noted in his diary that Baba's health seems worse every day. He suffers through a strenuous weight of some internal working, which is evident from the dark shadows under his eyes. He has no sleep the whole night. Kaka is constantly awakened due to Baba's restlessness, and Chanji presses his feet till 12 midnight. On the 25th, Baba began complaining of heart cramps again. At lunch that day, Baba remarked to the Mandali, "What will you do if my condition worsens? The journey to India will take many more days still." They said they would do as he instructed. The ship docked at Yokohama on the 26th. Baba and the Mandali went ashore at 7 p.m. and went to the Grand Hotel where the Thomas Cook office was located to inquire about their passage from Hong Kong to Colombo. Due to Baba's restlessness, they did not spend much time on shore. They got down at Kobe also at 8 a.m. on the 28th and went to the Cook office again about travel arrangements. Baba was considering flying to India from Singapore with one of the Mandalay. After sailing from Honolulu, Baba informed Chanji, "There is one soul I want to contact on this ship." The next day, Chanji went down to the laundry room to iron Baba's pants and met a wealthy woman named Margaret Scott. She narrated a troubled life, saying that she was desperate and now thinking of divorcing her husband. She had seriously contemplated suicide. Chanji told her about Baba, who later sent word to the woman not to get divorced. Chanji talked with her for a few minutes each evening, and she became eager to meet Baba in person, for she sought his blessing. Baba agreed to see her on deck when he disembarked in Shanghai on the 30th, if no one else was around. When Baba came up, she was surrounded by people. To her amazement, they all dispersed, and she had her precious few minutes with Baba. He consoled her and blessed her by making the sign of the cross on her forehead. Rustum had been instructed to meet them in Shanghai, but when they got off the ship, he was nowhere to be seen. Worried, they searched up and down the wharf, went to the general post office, and finally to the cook office, where by sheer chance Rustum appeared. Rustum had arrived from India 2 days before, but he had misplaced the name of their ship. He had spent a frantic 2 days awaiting Baba's arrival, doing everything he could to obtain information. His funds were completely depleted, and he was about to wire Ramju in Nasik. He was overjoyed and relieved beyond measure to see Baba, who said it was his key that had drawn Rustum to the cook office just in the nick of time. All had lunch in their cabin and then went around Shanghai, visiting the hotel where Rustum was staying. Baba gave Rustum instructions and booked his passage to New York and Hollywood as his representative to supervise the work with Norina and Elizabeth on the screenplays This Man, David, and How It All Happened. Before Rustum departed, Baba exchanged overcoats with him, Baba wearing Rustum's and giving Rustum his coat, which Baba said would keep Rustum safe. Rustum was concerned about his family, and Baba promised to look after Rustum's children. Baba had been very happy to meet Rustum and have him travel to America for the film work. But the next day, Baba's health suffered with bad palpitations of the heart. He was very anxious to return to India and constantly discussed the possibility of flying back to India after a week's stay in Hong Kong. Baba arrived in Hong Kong early in the morning on Saturday, 2 February 1935. 2 Parsis, Rustum Desai and Rustum Pistonji, were there to welcome him. They had met Baba in 1932 when Baba's ship had docked at Hong Kong. They took Baba and the Mandalay to Pistonji's home in Kowloon, where Baba had breakfast and was photographed. After meeting the families of both men, Baba boarded the Fushimi Maru, which sailed at 11 a.m. the same day. Baba's cabin was uncomfortable. The food wasn't very good, and his health was still unstable. He would have stomach pains one day and throat pains the next. Then he would indicate that he had pain in his mouth and then, on the third day, in his head. The pain would sometimes be throbbing in 2 or 3 places in his body at once. Baba was taken to see the ship's Japanese doctor on the 6th, who, after examining him, said there was nothing seriously wrong and gave him some boric acid water to gargle with for his sore throat. They landed in Singapore in the morning on Thursday, 7 February 1935, and took a walk in the town in the morning and again in the afternoon. They met a local Bora Muslim who treated them to tea and cold drinks. Being a fellow Indian, he felt himself to be their unofficial host. After dinner, they visited the New World amusement park. The boat arrived in Penang at 3 p.m. on the 9th and anchored offshore. Baba and the Mandali took a launch to the pier and then a taxi around the city. They returned to the ship around 5 o'clock and ship set sail 2 hours later. Baba's tooth pain had become so severe, he decided to have a dentist remove a loose and aching tooth as soon as he returned to Meherabad. He stopped eating hardly any solid food and drank only bottled milk that the Mandali had purchased in Singapore and Penang, and which had to be refrigerated. Only condensed milk was available on board their ship. Baba drank the milk with digestive biscuits 3 times a day. At sea, Baba repeatedly sent Chanji to the captain with messages to do his best in speeding up the voyage to reach Colombo, Ceylon, as soon as possible. Chanji was also directed to give the captain some books about Baba, which he did. As Baba wished, they reached Colombo at noon on the 13th, ahead of schedule. They had lunch at the Victoria Hotel and then took a train up the coast at 8:15 p.m. Baba's health is getting worse, Addie noted, and he constantly inquires about the appearance of his face and the dark shadows under his eyes. He constantly complains about the continuous flow of saliva coming out of his mouth. After crossing the straits between Ceylon and India in a ferry, they faced time-consuming and laborious scrutiny by the customs and passport officials. The passport officer was especially rude, and Adi Sr. got into an altercation with him over his manner. Baba arrived in Madras by train at 7 a.m. on 15 February 1935 and was met at the station by Sampath Iyengar, his family, and other devotees. 2 hours later, Baba left on the Bombay Express train, traveling in a second-class compartment with Kaka, while Adi Sr., Chanji, and Jalpai went by third class. But Baba had little rest when that night at Wadi, passengers and their luggage poured into his compartment, overfilling it. He arrived in Dahod on the early morning of the 16th. Padri had come to Dahod with the bus. The Maharaja of Bahor happened to be present on the Dahod station platform. He recognized Baba and offered tea and breakfast to all, which Baba accepted. Baba sent Shanji and Kaka to Bombay on an errand and returned to Meherabad on the bus later in the morning of the same day. Bayram and Adi Jr. arrived from Pune and stayed for 3 days. Baba still had severely aching teeth and felt very weak from the extremely tiresome journey. Padre gave him an injection to ease the pain, and Dr. Pimpalkar of Ahmednagar was called to extract 2 of his molars, which he did around 5 in the afternoon on the back veranda of the mess quarters. Because of Baba's suffering, on his 41st birthday was remembered that day, 16 February, without any special ceremonies. After arriving in India, Baba kept the puppy Chummy with him for some days and then gave the dog to Adi Sr. to look after. Settled in at Meherabad, Baba continued the fast he had started during the voyage from Singapore, drinking only milk and water, which caused him to become constipated. It was only after a month that Baba began eating solid food again. The women Mandali were staying secluded on Meherabad Hill. Baba had brought 3 fledgling minor birds, which Nacha began taking care of. The birds were fed plenty of worms brought especially for them. Baba named the Minas after the Hindu trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, creator, preserver, and destroyer. When they learned to fly, they would land on Baba's shoulders. Baba treated them with affection and would personally feed them cream and chapatis. Baba had also brought another mina, which he gave to Mehera. Mehera taught the bird to say, Baba, darling. Baba loved this bird very much. Later, though, the bird fell ill, and despite treatment, it expired. It uttered Baba as it died. It was buried on Meherabad Hill, and while its grave was dug, Baba remarked, "It is blessed."
Thank you, Eva.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Rosalie, would you like to read next? It's from the second para here. Khurshid cared for other birds. Thanks.
Yes. Of course, she cared for other birds that had also been brought from Europe. During one period, Khurshid had a cut on her hand, and to avoid infection, Mani and Mera began looking after the birds. One day, they both cleaned the cage and put it in the sun to dry. They kept water and seed inside, but forgot to shut the door. Some of the birds flew away, but Baba did not display displeasure at this accident, in contrast to the similar incident that had taken place with Quentin and Todd. At one point, 3 baby parrots were brought to Meherabad. They looked quite ugly and weak, but after proper care, they grew into beautiful, strong birds. Baba delighted in feeding them, and afterward would instruct the women to make the birds walk for exercise to digest their food. It was a humorous sight to see the women nudging the baby parrots along, trying to get them to take a walk with their stomachs bloated. During this period, 2 tame rabbits were also kept on Meherabad Hill, and Baba would play with them and have them sit on his lap. The female rabbit later had bunnies, and the women mandali were occupied in looking after them according to Baba's instructions. From the beginning, when the circle of women was formed, Mero would read Baba's dictation from the alphabet board when he was with the women mandali. But after Mani joined the ashram, she began reading it. Among the men, Chanji, Adi Sr., Jalbai, and Adi Jr. were proficient in reading the board. Having finished his medical studies, Dr. Nilu came to Mehrabad on Tuesday night, 19 February 1935. Baba assured him that a hospital would soon open for him to head and permitted him to move to Mehrabad permanently. Nilu returned to Bombay on the 21st to pack his belongings. Footnote: Nilu had been engaged to be wed, but his fiancée ended up marrying someone else. Baba explained to Nilu that his sanskaras were related with the girls from a previous life. Hence, Nilu had some contact with her in this life, but to wed her would have resulted in unhappiness for them both. Chanji and Kaka returned on the 20th, but Kaka was sent back to Bombay the same night. When Baba had first returned to Mehrabad, he was so weak that he could hardly walk. For a few days, he had to be carried down the hill in a chair and in his rickshaw. Chanji was deeply affected by Baba's condition. Describing it, he wrote, "When we arrived at Mehrabad, Baba was here in his room at Lower Mehrabad, discussing things with the Mandali. His face and physique seemed to have undergone a great change, and he looked so lean and pulled down. Quite a contrast to how we saw him last on the 16th at Dand, though he was not quite well even then. And when we saw him taken up on the hill on an easy chair, lifted by the Mandali, it was no small surprise." Footnote: Baba was spending the nights on the hill then. His condition looked really serious. Although he is all-powerful and all-knowing, one could easily see from his expression the weak condition, the terrible strain he was passing through, and the suffering he was undergoing. To what great inner working this may be attributed, one could scarcely imagine. One thing is certain: he has been suffering terribly ever since Hollywood, and added to it the fast that he undertook and sleepless nights. Ramju had a private meeting with Baba on 21st February and returned to Nasik in the afternoon. Baba was considering moving to Nasik with the women. So on the 25th, a portion of, quotes, in the zoo, the rabbits, were brought down the hill and given to Sarosh. Baba's health was slightly better that day. His expression seemed brighter, and he walked a little with the help of a stick. Adi Sr.'s sister, Dolly, was still being kept secluded at Lower Mehrabad. On the 25th, Adi was sent to Sakori with Kalangad to ask Maharaj if Dolly could stay there until she got better, rather than at Mehrabad. but Maharaj had left for Aurangabad. On 1st March 1935, Rusi Pop came to see Baba in the morning, along with Padri's mother, Frani Masi, with whom Baba had a long talk about her illness. Baba assured her she would recover and instructed her to go to Pune and for 40 days to place ashes from his duni on Baba Jan's tomb. Footnote, Frani Masi had had a very close personal connection with Baba Jan in the 1920s. Sadashiv Patil came in the afternoon, and Vishnu, Chanchi, and Rao were also called up the hill. Wal Saheb came from Pune on 2nd March, but Baba sent him back after giving him certain instructions. Aga Ali arrived the next day and again expressed his desire to remain with Baba, who prevailed upon the youth to return to Bombay and sent him home. Footnote. This is the last recorded personal contact between Baba and Aga Ali, although over the next several years, Ali wrote several letters to Baba. It is not known what became of him. Meher Baba's health had broken down in the middle of winter while traveling through North America. In Canada, the extreme cold temperatures affected his health severely. By March, it was observed that Baba was still weak. He had intermittent fever and a sore throat. The baking heat of India's summer was becoming intolerable. Seeking a more pleasant climate, Baba shifted to Nasik with the women Mandali early in the morning on Monday, 4 March 1935, to spend the hot summer months, March through May, there. They traveled in 2 buses. Kalinga drove Baba and the women in one, and Biwa drove the other with Dalatmai, her infant grandson Behram, Jalbai, and Chuggin. Masaji rode in the front seat of Kalingad's bus. The other Mandali remained at Meherabad, but Chanji was sent to Bombay. Adi Senior and Padri came back to Sakori the same day, where Maharaj refused to look after Dali, unless Gulmai also stayed at Sakori with her. Consequently, Dali was brought to Nasik on the 6th with Pilamai. Goher's sister Silla and Waman's Subni's daughter Indu stayed with them. It's a beautiful photograph. A photograph is with, well, in Nasik, Baba occupied a bungalow in the Saharanpur locality. Syed Sahib procured a goat, which was given to Baba, as it was recommended that he drink the goat's milk to improve his health. Footnote. Goat's milk is supposedly beneficial for healing colds and coughs. Unlike cows, goats eat many different herbs and grasses, which gives their milk more healthful qualities. The goat had a kid, and the 2 animals especially loved to follow Baba around and play with him. Baba, in turn, enjoyed feeding them treats pieces of chapati or toast. Playfully, Baba would raise his hand high out of the mother goat's reach, and the goat would stand on her hind legs, putting her front legs on Baba's chest so she could reach the treats.
Thank you, Rosalie. Marilyn, would you like to read now?
Yes. Bedul had been sent back to Persia on 26 February. He met certain people there and did work on Baba's behalf and returned in March. Ali Akbar Shaprazaman, a former Meher ashram boy, later known as Alaba, was working as a cashier in a Bombay restaurant when one day Bedul happened to walk in. How is the volume? Should I use my phone? Is it better that way?
This is good. Thank you. You can continue.
Okay, thank you. Alaba recognized him, but he did not speak to him, though seeing Bedul did have an influence on him. He began to think more and more about Baba, and one night left his job to travel to Ahmednagar to have Baba's darshan. Alaba met Rao Saheb, who told him that Baba was staying in Nasik. Going there, he found Baba at the Sarosh Motor Works office and fell at his feet. Alaba had not seen Baba since the days of the Meher Ashram school in 1927. Baba ordered him to go back to Bombay, but to return whenever called by him. Alaba's contact with the master was thus reestablished, and he usually met Baba on the first of every month. In Nasik, Baba reviewed the accounts of the motor works and cinema with Ramju and Adi Sr. While visiting Naval Talati's house on 12 March 1935, Baba remarked to Adi Sr., "I have a keen desire to abandon the Mandali and their pecuniary connection, in parentheses, financial support, and retire to a far-off mountain for 3 years, unknown and unprovided for with money, with only Gustaji begging for our food. Provided you agree to stay in Nasik and undertake to look after the ladies as I will instruct." Adi agreed, but instead Baba proposed that Vishnu and Adi Sr. remain at Meherabad and Padri and Kalingad keep watch at night. Shireen Mai had come to Nasik for a visit, but had a fight with Gulmai, causing Gulmai to walk to Adi Sr.'s quarters and spend the night of the 12th there. Adi drove Shireen Mai and Adi Jr. back to Pune on the 13th, and he and Ramju proceeded to Bombay. On 16 March, Dr. Minu Bhatena, a dentist from Dil Ali, extracted one of Baba's teeth after giving him 3 injections to dull the pain. It was still a painful procedure, and Baba remarked that the Naga dentist was better. Bhattinya extracted a second tooth the following day and another on the 20th. Footnote: Dr. Bhattinya returned on 31 March and 1 April 1935 to take an impression of Baba's teeth to have a bridge made. As Adi Sr. noted in his diary, Baba on the whole, complains a great deal about his health and is constantly thinking of retiring to a far-off mountain. Sarosh came to Nasik on the 18th with Rusi Pop and Rusi's son, Jal. Later that day, Baba, Frani, Adi Sr., and Vishnu paid a visit to the Barnes School, where they met Rustam and Frani's sons, who were boarding students there. Rustam was still in America working with Narina and Elizabeth on the film project. Footnote. On 11 March 1935, Rustam paid a visit to the colony at Oceano. On 28 March, in response to a letter from Rustam requesting a few more details about the realization scene, Baba dictated a few points to Adi. Naval's wife, Dina, fell ill at this time. A Dr. Kapadia was called on 3 April 1935 to give her an injection, but he gave her the wrong drug by mistake. Dina collapsed and her pulse became extremely weak. The doctor was frightened, and Baba was sent for from Ramju's, where he was visiting. He arrived, patted the doctor, and consoled him. Don't worry, her pulse will resume. Baba then went to Dina and touched her forehead. Her pulse surprisingly became normal in a matter of minutes, and she began breathing freely. Astonished and relieved, the doctor said to Baba, "Had you come 2 or 3 minutes later, she would have died." During this period, Naval was anxious about certain family matters. At 5:00 p.m. on 15 April, Baba visited his home and advised him, "Continue conscientiously discharging your duties in the world, but do not care or worry about the results. The infinite is within you, and you are part of the infinite. I am in Kalamama and also in Masaji. Masaji is 80 years old with all his teeth intact. Kale is 60, excuse me, with several teeth missing. Should Masaji be glad that he has all his teeth at 80? Kali worry as to why he has lost so many teeth before 60? There is no sum or substance in anything in illusion. He who has teeth and he who has no teeth, it is all the same. But he who has strong teeth should not purposely remove them, because I say that it has no value, sum, or substance. It, Maya, is illusion, is all nothing. There should not be a distress in being healthy or being ill. One should not feel pleasure for what one has or be miserable for what one has not. This is true in every matter. There is absolutely nothing, not even zero. If there is nothing, then how can there be decay or death? No one dies and no one lives. Naval accepted what Baba had expounded. Meanwhile, Baba continued his communication with his Western disciples. On 6 April 1935, in closing a letter to Minta, he dictated this rhyme. I see myself in everything, Infinite myself I find, but when I see a rose in spring, Shalimar comes to mind. He wrote on another occasion, Sweet Shalimar, prepare to run, prepare to fly with me to heaven. Sweet Shalimar, prepare to give your life to me and in me live. Sweet Shalimar, prepare. It's near eternal bliss, no doubts, no fear. Sweet Shalimar, how sweet you are, how sweet you are, sweet Shalimar. Such endearing thoughts kept Baba's Western gopis at his feet during their separation from their Krishna.
Thank you. Uh, Meher Kiran, can you read now if it's possible?
Yes, yes, thanks.
Yeah.
Just close the window. So where do I start?
On the top of the
Uh,
page,
Okay, thanks. Accompanied by Gustaji, Chandji, Vishnu, Adi Senior, and Dadu at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, 16th April 1935, Baba left Nasik and drove to Goti, a town 25 miles away, where he stayed at a dog bungalow. Goti was selected as a change of place to provide Baba with an opportunity to have a suitable rest and to recuperate from the continual suffering he had undergone since returning from America. The bungalow was located along a mountain with beautiful scenery and cool, refreshing breezes. Baba was in a fair mood and would draw the drinking water from the well himself. He liked the place, but nevertheless complained of being restless and uncomfortable, even though the Mandli did everything to make it possible for him to relax. Gulmai, Pendu, and Jalbai arrived the next day. Jalbai was sent to search the area for a place where Baba could sit alone in seclusion. When Baba inspected the spot that Jalbai had chosen, he was not satisfied with it and the seclusion was cancelled. On 17th April, important cables from the West and other urgent letters arrived, reporting on situations that demanded Baba's presence in Nasik. However, Baba did not leave until 3 days later. Thereafter, even though Baba was fasting on milk only and his body desperately needed rest, he would continually keep on the move, coming and going between Nasik and Meherabad during the scorching heat of the summer months. From Nasik, Dadu was sent to Bombay to learn photography and film work. With Behram's help, Baba decided to make a brief visit to Bombay on 3rd May 1935. Accompanied by Gusaji and Jalbai, Baba arrived by the Punjab Mail at 10:30 a.m. and stayed at Banubai Confectionery's apartment on Frary Road. Footnote. Banubai's husband, Manekji Confectioner, had died suddenly in mid-October 1934. No one else was informed of Baba's arrival since he indicated that he did not wish to meet the public and all requests for interviews were denied. As in previous times, before and after a journey to the west, Kaka and Chanji were already in Bombay, having been sent there by Baba to carry out certain errands, and they met him at Banubai's. Baba visited Malabar Hill and other places in the city. He went to the dentist as a tooth was bothering him, but there was no cavity. Staying for only 2 days, Baba visited a few close lovers, including Alamai Katrak, Meherbai Merchant, Rupamai, and Hormuzji. Kaikobad, the Kotwals, Karmen Masi, Dadu, Pleader, and Chanji's sister Mehera Joshi and her husband Rusi. In addition, he went to Parel and saw his sister-in-law Big Khorshad, and he also visited Padri's mother Freni Masi, who had moved to Bombay from Pune. Baba also visited a foreign couple named Wellington, whom Chanji had told about Baba. The couple was facing certain difficulties, but Baba assured them that their situation would improve after 6 months. Baba left Bombay at 7 in the evening on 4th May, arriving in Nasik late that night. Baba shifted his residence back to Meherabad with the man and woman Mandli on Thursday 9 May 1935. On the 12th, Baba ordered Chanji to cable Nurina to send Rustum back to India. To have some relief from the heat, Baba took the Mandli to Happy Valley on the 15th for the day. Baba relaxed and discussed the current world political situation. A Polish leader named Joseph Pilsudski has recently passed away, and Baba commented that he was a very sincere person. At Meherabad, Baba held a meeting to discuss his seclusion. Baba wished to go some place for the purpose of seclusion work, but kept the location a secret from everybody. He gave detailed instructions to Pendu and Padri on 17th May about the management of Meherabad in his absence. On the 19th, he told all, I have not decided to remain in India for 7 months. I will go to Nasik on 23rd May and remain there for 10 days. Then I will be in Bombay for about 10 days. My movements will thereafter be kept secret. You have spent so many years with me in leading a hard life in every way, enduring all sorts of trials. So for a year more, help me and my work. Perhaps I might break my silence. But whatever happens, all of you men remain here, carefully doing your duty as assigned. Baba then discussed travel arrangements separately with Gustaji and Rao Sahib and disclosed that they were to accompany him on his journey. Baba asked Chanji to inquire about other suitable places for seclusion in Pondicherry, Goa, the Nilgiri Hills, Kashmir, Darjeeling, Ajmer, and Udaipur, while taking care that no one discover his destination. Chhagan was also issued instructions. Despite Chanji's sincere and tireless inquiries made in strict secrecy, he wrote, Baba would always ask for and want the very thing that was not there, omitted either through oversight or intentionally being found unnecessary. This was his training and method of bringing out the weaknesses rooted within. On Upasni Maharaja's 65th birthday, Monday, 20th May 1935, Baba distributed watermelon to the Mandali and, in an exceptional mood, spent the day rejoicing. In the early years, Maharaja's Aarti had been performed regularly by Baba, but this practice was ended in 1931. It was now sung only occasionally during a special darshan program or other function such as Maharaja's birthday celebration. Memu and Adi Jr. arrived that night from Pune and left at 10 a.m. on the 22nd. Baba left on 23rd May for Nasik, where he met with Daulat Mai and her daughter Fraini. Dina Talati, Adi Senior, and Ramju's family. Nilu also arrived from Bombay. On the 25th, Pilamai left Nasik for Bombay, and from there she and her children continued on their home in Karachi on the 30th. The same day, Thursday, 30th May 1935, Baba, Gusaji, Jalbai, and Gulmai drove from Nasik to Bombay and again stayed at Banu Bhai's apartment. Baba was invited to lunch the next day at Banu Mansion in Dadar. Nauroji and Bachmai Dada Chanji's new home.
Thank you. Footnote, please.
The family rented 2 rooms in large bungalows. Behrham and Perrin later occupied a small cottage in the same compound. There, Baba met the Dada Chanji's teenage daughter Arnavas, 17, Nargis, 13, and Rhoda, 11, and their young sons Tehmutan, 8, Homa, 6, Dara, 4, and Nauzar, 2. Nauroji was Chanji's older brother, and his entire family was drenched in Baba's love. Later the same day, the 31st May, Manik Ranji came to see Baba, who explained to Manik, I can see the creation and dissolution of universe very quickly, very clearly. I cannot, I can count them. I will read it. I can see the creation and dissolution
It's
of
okay.
universe.
Meher Kiran, thank you. I'll read from here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
I can see the creation and dissolution of universes very clearly. I can count them, even though they are numberless, they are quite clear to me. Only the avatar and the perfect master can see them with their gross eyes. No one else can. People would think it is a wonderful sight, but for one who has realized God and experiences eternal bliss every moment, it is nothing. I have descended to the level of the gross world, and I have to suffer infinitely for my divine work. How can you understand this? It is complicated. The illusion is full of complications. The truth is not. It is free of entanglements, one individual and perfect. Gulmai met Baba on 1st June with her daughter Pyroja, who was living in Bombay with her husband. And she returned to Ahmednagar the next day, taking Piroja with her. Leaving Bombay, Baba went to Pune on Sunday, 2nd June 1936. After meeting with his mother, Memo, Baba left for Talegaon, where Ramju's family had taken up residence. Next page, please.
That was 1935, not 6.
Okay. Um, yeah. After this visit, Baba went back to Bombay on 4th June, arriving at 1 p.m. and stayed again with Kakaparia's sister Banubai. A darshan program was held at 10:30 a.m. on 6 June 1935 at Nauroji's home in Dadar, where about 40 select lovers had a final chance to see Baba before he left for an unknown destination. Baba had the following message read out. As already explained to all my lovers, I'm leaving here today to retire into the mountains in seclusion for 1 year. My going to the mountains this time is concerned with a great work that is universal and is the stepping stone toward the future manifestation. The actual spot has long since been decided, but is not known to anyone as yet, nor will it be known to anyone until I am already there. I will take one or two of the mandali with me. All others are given different duties in the ashrams in Mehrabad, Ahmednagar, Nasik, Pune, Bombay, and so on. Those of you who are in the world already have your duties assigned to you towards the dear ones of your families and also towards humanity. And each few has to do that duty cheerfully, facing everything that comes bodily and calmly, never trying to shrink or avoid it with any erroneous ideas of renunciation or with the desire to go to the mountains, God, truth, or ultimate reality, whatever one may term it, is not found only on mountains or in caves. True religion or spirituality is in the proper performance of one's duties towards one's own and also towards others in a spirit of selfless service and universal brotherhood. Facing all the Marvin, what's that word?
Vicissitudes.
Thank you. What does that mean?
I think it means the difficulties that come through to you during your life.
Okay, maybe Eva, you can look it up later if you're still there. Thanks. In life, boldly and cheerfully, with love as the guiding force, all this is easily possible. The very idea of a long separation is so painful to those who love, and I know keenly the dear devotees will feel it. But love is always like that. Uh, it unites in separation. The more the separation, the deeper the love grows. It is through tests of keenly felt separations, the hearts throbbing with love are brought closer. All have to suffer for love. Jesus suffered all his life for love. I suffered none the less after have sorry, I'm just going to repeat this. All have to suffer for love. Jesus suffered all his life for love. I suffered nonetheless and have yet to suffer much. These times are no better than those of old when Jesus was stoned and had to suffer circulation. Next page, please. Thank you.
Crucifixion.
This is the next page? Okay. Okay. I am crucified every moment, as none of you can ever imagine. This retiring in seclusion is for the great work of humanity, and the work must be done. Let none feel sad or despondent, but feel always in harmony and love toward all. Remember, I'm always with you and will ever help you eternally in your efforts to face and bear calmly everything that comes during the trying period that is ahead. I'm going to read this again because I think we can relate to it towards the past 3 years and now. Remember, I am always with you and will ever help you internally in your efforts to face and bear calmly everything that comes during the trying period that is ahead. So beautiful. Baba stopped to see Frenny Masi on his way back to Banubai's. Rustam returned to India from New York and met with Baba in Bombay that afternoon at 4:30. They had a long conversation about Rustam's trip and the film work in America. After Rustam informed him in detail of what had happened, Baba wrote to Norina and Elizabeth. 6 June 1935. Rustam had reported that the film work is being postponed for 6 months. Remember, I do not want all of your efforts, investment, and sacrifices which you have made up until now to go in vain. I want the picture, and it must be produced. So, dearest, do not get dejected, but work for it with the same zeal and enthusiasm. And if any time in future you really need my presence, cable me. And if the need is great, I will break the period of my seclusion and spend the remaining period in the mountains, somewhere in the west, after giving you a helping hand with the picture. I expect you, as my best beloveds and closest ones, to bear everything patiently for all the love you dearest all have for me. This is the period of a great test. I will take you all my own through this, but I want you to keep happy and cheerful under all conditions, suffering and separation, facing all opposition and other difficulties that confront you in life. Remember always that those persons who create mischief and opposition are important and know not what they do. Sorry.
Are,
I'm going to read it.
are ignorant.
Yeah, they're ignorant
Mhm.
and know not that they do. They play their part assigned to them. You play yours boldly, calmly, and cheerfully. I know it is too much, too long for you who love me so deeply to wait so long. But as I have told you, the work must be done. And it is for the great work I have to do. And you, my closest ones, have to participate. Nothing should scare you and deter you from doing your bit in the great work that is ahead.
Okay, time to stop the reading here.
Actually, Marvin, shall we just finish this thing? The message, and
Oh yeah,
then
yeah. Sure, go
stop.
ahead.
Yeah. I know you left. I know you will let nothing stand between the love you have all formed. Anyways, I want you all, my oldies and the dearest ones, to remember all I have told you individually and try your very best to act accordingly, not to feel sad, morose, or despondent, but to keep always cheerful and happy, doing your duties and facing everything that comes calmly and patiently. And rest assured, I am always with you, helping you in your efforts to face things, to do my work, and to be happy. Hence, remembering always that I want the picture produced, get busy, and don't ever slacken in spirit. I am behind all your earnest efforts of bringing this out. You know, beloveds, how I love you, and I know how deeply you darlings love me, and how keenly you feel the separation and suffer all for your beloved Baba. I shall keep in touch with you all evening during the retirement and want you to keep in touch too and write as usual. So we'll end here today on page 1935. It was lovely message and thank you for joining. I will see you all next
Mhm.
week.
Let's stop the
And
recording,
we
please.
stop the recording now and continue with the chat.